if you're watching this and you haven't watched the episode yet, you just need to stop and go watch the episode and then watch this.
Yeah. I will send you, the family all got they got the child. So Adrian got a child, Julian got a child, and I got a child. Last night after Julian,
what does that mean?
They little figure that we had. I showed you last week.
Yes. Okay. So you all have your own individual Yoda-ish child.
Yeah. Yeah. The child was put in the corner to think about what it had done after my daughter had watched the episode. Very disappointed. And she actually used the phrase you had coined also. That little turd. Yeah. So, yeah. I may have to send you the picture of it's pretty hilarious.
I would like to say, while I feel that the discipline is appropriate, that maybe those outlets should be childproof. Even though he is a force-powered individual, we don't want him to be electrocuted.
That is fair. That is fair criticism. We do have like not only one, but like multiple children around the house now, and we should be aware of that.
I think the danger we need to really consider, though, is not that baby Yoda would be electrocuted, but that he would somehow become more empowered by tapping into the electricity.
Oh yeah, or that
the danger is for you, not for the baby, not for the child.
More, or that he would be able to channel spiders that may be in the walls to come and attack our family, which is my bigger fear. Okay, that's my bigger fear. Yes. What I think is fantastic, they have more character development. All the more reason. I love the engineer. I forget her name. We'll have people in the comments can point out her name.
I looked up her name. I couldn't figure out what her name was. I tried to get it in the subtitles and I couldn't catch it. Keep going.
Yeah, I checked it out just earlier today, but she's fantastic. We learned more about her when she her line to Mando when she's back in the cantina is you finally found a Mandalorian and killed him, because he's just walking back to camp. I will give it to him. Mando is very much a can-do guy. He's like, he just accepts his position. He's like, oh, well, I no longer get to fly around. I'm gonna be able
to together a Strout.
Yeah. I'm gonna use what was left of one of these bars, and I'm gonna walk back to Mos Eisley. And of course, I'm not gonna walk back to the where my ship is. I'm gonna walk into the cantina, because that makes for a better scene. Yeah, everything happens at the cantina.
Like, I wondered, why didn't he set it down outside? Why did he bring it inside? He just looks so cool. Like, I mean, in the armor, you still leave your helmet on. Like, I would be, I begin to ask myself, is the interior of the Beskar climate controlled for both hot and cold?
Right. Or is there like a Febreze like cross product? Like, I mean, are they looking for Febreze endorsement there? So the character's name is Peli Mota. And she's the gal that is repairing what we learn more about the ship Razor Crest. We learn that the name of his ship, which is fantastic. For those of you fans that Razor Quest, I don't know what to think of that yet, but I have feelings towards Slave One, which was Boba Fett's ship previously. There's certainly some connotation there, but I like it that her first comment is that you found a Mandalorian and the first thing you did is you killed him, and she's like, what's up with that? And he explains bringing you up to speed pretty quickly. Well, he bought it off some Jawas. And then she happens to be in a gambling in a sabacc game or some sort of card game where she's playing with somebody. She also hustles. She hustles Mando out of another 500 credits for the ant type character, Mr. Mandible or
Dr. Mandible.
Yeah,
Dr. Mandible covers his bet,
which happens to have some information about someone that knows where some other Mandalorians. So we're starting to find out that he is searching for the Mandalorians that were on the previous planet, because he's gotten disconnected, I think.
Right, which gets us to the passenger. who is a frog lady that's got her eggs, which is all I want to talk about from this point forth. Okay, I mean, there's other things to talk about here,
right.
but this brings me back to Steve. If you don't mind me jumping in, where he's got the frog lady on board, he's got baby Yoda on board, and the X-wing fighters show up next to him, and they start going through this protocol stuff, and he gets to this point where he's like, the popo just rolled up on me, fight or flight. And it's like comply, fight or flight. And there's this pause, pregnant pause, and he makes a run for it in the Razor Crest, which in my mind, I'm like, okay, we know enough about Star Wars to know that thing ain't gonna outrun much, let alone a couple of X-wings. Okay.
And I love the moment when the X-wings like go to like let's switch to channel 2, and they open up their wings for tactical. You know that.
I was like, why can't Mando switch to channel 2? Like if I was Mando, I'd be like, I'm going to channel 2. Yeah, maybe on channel 2. Yeah. Okay. So, but this is the moral dilemma moment. Okay. Maybe it should be, maybe it shouldn't be, but where I'm like, and all the way up to this point in the journey with Mando, he has had to make split-second decisions for life, for death, for other people, to be compassionate, to be self-serving, self-seeking. And in the last episode, we highlighted how he made a self-sacrificing, like compassionate move that put others before himself. In this moment, I don't know if he just he reversed to some baser instincts, and he's just like, I'm going to make a run for it. And I was like, okay, that moment set up the trajectory for the rest of the story in this episode, in my opinion.
Well, I also feel like he set the precedent that the line that he said before, like, since he's transporting for this frog lady, the last of her line of these eggs that need to be by the equinox, they need to be,
the last of her during her life cycle, so that their family name does not, like, everything's on the line for frog lady and her hubby.
So that's how I have to go sublight. And he says the line, moving fast is the only thing that keeps me safe. So he has already put things out there that I don't like to operate under this, and by no means would I sign off on this. But you've already signed off on that I can get this person to this location. And I'm not a taxi service.
But it's still a part of the quest, because he's looking for other Mandalorians so he can deliver the child. So he's still on quest point and direction until he makes a run that he's never going to outrun the X-Wings. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Like, maybe they imprison him. Maybe they take Baby Yoda. Maybe he's not doing it for himself. He's not doing it for the frog lady, because it's obviously like he's just putting up with her. But let's talk about the eggs, okay? Let's talk about the eggs on board and Baby Yoda being left unattended, because I think there's a whole other moral dilemma here, in my opinion. And let me lay it out, Steve, in just a couple brief points here. Baby Yoda is a baby, a 50-year-old baby who knows the difference between right and wrong, who is there. I think he does. I think he does. And he heard the lady say, this is the last eggs of my life cycle. And like, my husband, we need to get these fertilized so that our family line can continue. Baby Yoda hears this. Baby Yoda doesn't care. Baby Yoda's hungry and thinks the eggs look good.
There's part of me that wants to believe he does not comprehend that me and my wife were talking about that Baby Yoda is still at the id point where there are no consequences, and he is pleasure focused. I want to believe that. Okay. If not, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people before Christmas that thought they were buying a really sweet character that's got a very dark side.
This is leaning towards the potential for a dark side and point of accountability where you're choosing right or wrong. And I was thinking about this with my daughter, who's 20 now, but I remember before she could walk, her exerting her will and knowing, like, there were things that were safe to touch and things that weren't safe to touch, things that were okay to touch, things that weren't okay to touch. And there were consequences for touching no touch. And there were consequences for when you looked at mommy and daddy and you reached out and you touched it anyway. Okay. So Baby Yoda, like, here's why I think he's morally capable and culpable here. He looks at the eggs, makes a coo sound. That's so cute. Looks to see if anybody's watching, looks back at the eggs and waddles over and gets inside. He knew that if he got into the eggs, he was going to get in trouble. I think that look, I had eggs for breakfast this morning. I made a little omelet and I had there were some leftover biscuits from a dinner, and I got some avo together, and I had a nice little breakfast sandwichy thing in my house this morning. And they were chicken eggs, or unfertilized chicken eggs. So I could think of them as unfertilized chicken eggs. The problem is there isn't a chicken sitting in the Razor Crest cockpit next to me trying to communicate about trying to get to their husband, okay? None of the chickens have ever showed up at my door saying, you ate the last line of my brood. Right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
This is my argument to say Baby Yoda he doesn't do this once, he does it 3 times throughout the episode, and it is hilarious every single time. And
I will be interested to see I will be interested to see where PETA comes out on this episode.
On the side of the amphibious.
Yeah.
Sentient. Yeah. Let me tell you this. My kids corrected me today. I kept saying sentient because that's how it's spelled when I look at it. But apparently, my freshman in high school son told me that the TI is pronounced as a she, so it's sentient being. I mean, this lady can hook up a killer like android voicalizer. I just voicalized.
Yeah, she is. She's definitely bringing some. She is solution oriented. That's what I appreciate her. And that's the other thing, is that he absolutely doesn't like do anything. He's giving the spiel about, I really appreciate that you would stay strapped in while we're flying, stay in your seat. He does the standard like safety air flight like recommendations. But
let me ask you about this lady.
Thinking?
Well, let me ask you about this lady. Number one, why are her eggs in downstairs, like in the hall cargo area, left unattended and not in the cockpit with her? Number one.
I don't know, but I do know at the end of the episode they're not left down there, and it's not because the cargo hold is not like solid.
Right. Number which is still a problem. It's an ongoing problem in the ending scene of this show with Baby Yoda's just proclivity towards sneaking an egg. Okay. He's a dirty little egg sucker. Okay. Number 2 with Frog Lady, not great at counting. Okay. She's very smart, very intelligent when it comes to the practice of just keeping track of how many eggs are left in there and how many are missing. I never really saw her got concerned about that. That was very concerning for me. I was like, this is a problem. Yeah. This is a problem. And number 3, if there's an opportunity for a hot tub, she's going to sneak off and she's going to be in that hot tub and she's not going to tell anybody. And it's going to cause problems.
Okay. So speaking of like this hot tub, this self-preservation thing, there's a lot of things that about this episode that I hearken back to my childhood watching shows, because there's a moment where, and maybe in hindsight, now that I've had more time to reflect on it, Baby Yoda is acting as if he is Lassie in this scene and trying to alert him that, hey, she's headed off. And I actually thought at the beginning it was for concern for her. It was not. Okay.
It's the eggs.
Exactly.
What a turd.
Yes. Baby
Stamp
Yoda's
on that
like,
wall, Baby Yoda.
Yeah, Baby's like, those are the best snacks. You keep buying me bone broth at these like different cantinas, but I would really prefer if we have this like heated container of these pickled eggs.
The lady's eggs.
The other thing it brings up, I want to know more about this technology that Mando has for being able to track people walking. This is the second time they've shown that. Cool. So what is that he has? And
okay,
what is that?
So I have to put a backpack together for my UPS job. Mm-hmm. I showed up with a little cooler on Friday, and I realized all the cool kids have backpacks, but my driver actually had a backpack and a cooler, and so I was like, oh, okay. So I put together a backpack, and so I was getting a little headlamp because if you get in the back of the truck and it gets dark and it got late and whatever, and you need your headlamp, right? When I was at Walmart, I noticed in the hunting section. Now I'm not big into hunting. Are you big into hunting? Are you a hunter at all?
No.
Okay, but I do like bounty
Not so
hunters.
much.
Yeah, I'd never seen this before, but it made sense. It was a headlamp that you could switch into blood tracking mode.
Oh.
And so it would go like black light or some type of special light, like a purple light. And then if you're in the dark and you're, bow hunter, or you're tracking your shot, but the animal didn't go down, you can follow the blood trail. And so I think it's just a high-tech version of heat. It's a heat sinking infrared. And so first shot, we see the footsteps. Second shot, we see, there's a cavern there and there's heat inside. And in my mind, it clicked. I was like, well, she's amphibious. She needs to warm up or she's going to die. Her eggs are going to die. So it makes sense for her to do that. But why wouldn't she tell somebody? Like, there's just some common sense things here of like, hey, I'm going to die if I don't warm up, and so will my eggs. So I can sense some heat over here with my super amphibious, like, non-spider foreshadowing sensey thing here. Obviously can't sense spiders, and I'm going to take a dip in the hot tub.
Yeah. Well, and she's already figured out how to communicate with him, but she chooses not to use the droid communicator to say, hey, I'm going to sneak off over here and take a soak. Okay.
Yeah.
The blankets aren't keeping me warm enough.
And maybe she just likes her privacy. Maybe she knew that if there's heat over here and there's probably water and thermal spring, I'm getting naked, and I don't want the guy that never takes off his armor to see me without my clothing on.
Right.
Maybe she has like this modicum of modesty. There's another cultural point here. Cultural corner for Kenny in Mando. He did such a good job of like identifying with the Tusken Raiders and their very different culture. And it comes to this lady, and she's just a pain in the neck. I don't want to. Sorry, frog lady. I don't speak frog, which has got to be derogatory when you're a sentient being that's amphibious and looks like a frog, but probably not a frog, even though she hops like one. As we found out, she can go faster. Which the frog hopping made me feel funny, and I don't know why. Well, I felt weird inside.
I'm trying to still figure out, like, when do you choose to walk as an upright individual and then you switch over into the hopping mode?
They weren't making more progress in the hopping mode.
Yeah. And the other
it was different. It was different. It was throwing something in there. For the podcasting people.
Yeah. It also seems like he has really discounted her because she doesn't even speak Huttese. He at one point tries with Huttese, and it's like,
it didn't really sound like he did either. I mean, it was like a hablar Espanol type like Huttese, right?
Yeah. Don't exactly consider yourself like. You still need to pick up
Huttese. I don't either.
Extend that Rosetta Stone subscription, Mando, for another 6 months. Yeah, exactly.
Take the free Tower of Babel app or whatever it's called.
Yeah. This week's podcast sponsored by Babel and
they're not a sponsor, Stone. But they sure could be.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting. What I do appreciate is that. So no Pod Yoda this week. They express how much how like little ground he can cover with his short little feet. Yeah, very.
He was
little.
Sprinting. Yeah. Limited mobility.
So
he is 50.
Yeah, he's getting low.
Which, I mean, we're pushing it, but come on.
He was willing to help gather up the eggs. Now that we're bobbing for eggs here, back at the heating pool, was he helping? Willing. Well, he was
helping himself, maybe
helping himself or something. Yeah,
pass the froggy eggs.